Hello and welcome to Meet the Eatmons Endangered Species Podcast, where we uplift, inspire, and spotlight families and individuals who we think are doing something special in the world. We are your hosts, Curtis and Spring Eatman, and we're so excited to be here today.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I think today's topic is going to be pretty interesting.
Yes.
Like really, really interesting because, when you think about it, like it may be in a relationship and, I don't know, people get tired of like being in a relationship and going on dates and not knowing what to say sometimes in a date, or you've been doing it repetitiously and you're like, okay, it's starting to become a little bit awkward because we've already talked about your favorite color. We already talked about, again, what about your parents
Yeah.
and, your family and where you want to live and how many kids you want and all that. Like, what do we talk about next? Like, how do we
Yes.
keep this like a direction of excitement? Because when you don't have direction, I really feel that it's just unfortunately expensive confusion if you keep doing a date night and not being clear on what you want to do. So, for us,
Yeah.
we're going to talk today about what's been working for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And I think we have 7 questions that we have in every date night that makes it a very successful date night. And today's topic is going to be losing touch, finding love. Can one night a week save a relationship?
Ooh, can it?
All right.
Yes,
So
it
I'm
can.
excited about it because, one question I have for you is before we get into the questions is how many date nights should you have?
I think at a minimum once a week. It's
Okay.
so important to date your spouse. And this is something that I think most married couples really start to kind of become very loosey-goosey about. They might do it once in a while, sometimes once a month, sometimes once a quarter. Like, it just starts to be like, well, we're always together. Well, we have dinner every night. Well, we're always,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you're having dinner as a family, or you're
True.
just eating in the same room. It doesn't mean that it's an intentional date.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't mean that you have to go and spend money for it to be a date. You can have a date night at home, but it is really, really important to make sure that you are, spending that time together, and reconnecting and really just investing in your love.
That's good. Okay. So when you say investing, you mean you're looking for a return on it.
Yes.
Okay. You're looking at a return on what you pour into that, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I like that a lot. I mean, because, for us, we plan it out every Sunday. We're either going to do it Wednesday or Fridays, usually our open days. Hopefully sometimes we get twice. But let's say you don't plan it out.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say that you don't have a date night on either once a week. Like, what is like the consequence of not investing in a date night, or at least having that? Because someone asked me and said, "What's a date night? Do I have to go out to a restaurant? Do I have to go out to in regards to like a concert or something like that? Like we have to be so creative in it?" I said, "No. Like this is 90 minutes minimum of no distractions,
Yeah.
just you, just connecting and investing into your love." So, what is the consequence if you don't?
I think that unintended consequences are you start to drift apart. You start to become like business partners of your life. Everything is, did you change the diaper? Did you pick up the milk? Did you, pay that bill? Like, it starts to become a very transactional roommate relationship
Oh,
if you're
roommates.
not
Okay.
intentional on keeping the spark of your relationship and your love together. And
Mm.
so that's why I think dating is so important, because you're coming back to that place. And I know a lot of married couples that they go so long without having a date night that once it's just the two of them, they almost have nothing to say.
That's
Like,
it.
they're confused. They don't know what to say to each other. Like, so, how was your day? Oh, it was good.
Good.
Okay. How's your food? Once you get past like that stuff, it's like,
The surface level stuff,
what
right?
else do we talk about?
Yeah.
And that's how you know that you are in a danger zone
Ooh.
where you are starting to drift away from your connection that you have together. So for us, we find it really important to have these questions that we ask that help us to tap in on not just a surface level, but get a little bit deeper and really continue to stay in tune with each other's emotional state.
Emotional. Okay, I know that because you're thinking about date night. It's most of the times it's, oh, let me hold your hand, let's be affectionate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go watch a movie. You're in my arms, whatever it is, right? It's more, you're thinking kind of physical, affectionate type of things like
Yeah.
that, but you're talking to more of emotional state that ultimately you feel more physical attraction if you are emotionally tied into each other.
Correct.
Interesting.
Especially for women. Especially for women. But I think men need that too.
Mm.
I think men I think men need emotional connection more than they are ever given credit for. Because I think that men can only give you a real emotional connection if they feel safe with their emotions with you.
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're only going to be attentive to your emotional state if their emotional state is also fulfilled. Like in relationships, we hear a lot, and there's an amazing book, recommend 100% Love and Respect,
Okay.
right? And it's like men need respect, women need love, which is 100% true.
Mm.
But I think in reality, both need both.
Yeah.
Women also need to feel respected and loved. Men need to be respected and loved.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's just that you can't give love until you feel respected, right? And same
Yes.
thing for women. You can't give respect until you feel loved. So I love the bottom line of that book and where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in most places in human nature, period, like these are just things that everyone needs naturally.
Yeah.
And I think that men's emotional state is overlooked a lot.
Yeah.
And so men have to have the same emotional connection and feeling with their spouse. And so I think there's a place for both. There's some times where we've done date nights where we'll just watch a movie and have a glass of wine and just snuggle and like reconnect, just physically, and we're holding each other and we're just having that moment and that time together.
Yeah.
And that's great. But I also think it's important to get into that emotional state as well, and not just let it be a physical connection, because we've seen that too, where there's relationships where maybe they become like roommate transactional, but they still have a pretty healthy sex life, but those are the only two boxes that they're kind of checking for each other, but emotionally they're kind of cut off from each other.
Yeah.
And so that also doesn't work. And so you have to have the physical, you have to have the emotional, and then you also have to feel like you have the intellectual, that you're able to hold a conversation, you're able to be on the same page, you're thinking, you're able to eat. Because some couples, they like to banter, or they like to, play devil's advocate and go back and forth. So I won't say, that you have to agree on everything.
Not at all.
But it's important for you to be able to have conversations.
Yeah, your mind has to be stimulated.
Yes, absolutely.
Somehow, some way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or it's not attractive long term.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get into these questions. So what would you say are some of the questions, and why we came up with these specific questions?
Yeah, one of the first questions we like to ask, especially if we're about to have a conversation and we want to increase the connection. The first one is, where are you at?
Mm-hmm.
And when we say where are you at, like, where are you at today?
Mm-hmm.
Because where you at yesterday and where you may be tomorrow might be completely different than where you're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we like to always ask you, like, so where are you at right now? Like, where are you at emotionally? Where are you at spiritually? Where are you at intellectually? Like, where are you at in your life right now?
Mm-hmm.
And that can open up, obviously, a lot of, conversation, or depending on where the person is at, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how comfortable they are, how trustworthy they are in regards to letting them really feel what's really in their mind, right? Or their heart, right? So let's ask you, where are you at?
Where am I at right now?
Mm-hmm.
I am in a place of feeling, a lot of gratefulness. I'm in a place of looking forward to the future. I'm in a place of being aware of my thoughts and where they take me. And I'm just in a place right now where I am trying to be very mindful of reprogramming my unconscious thought process. So where are you at right now?
Where am I at right now in my life? I'm intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Everything with me is on purpose right now, from working out to our relationship, to my kids' relationship, to how I run my business or businesses, and anything what I'm doing is, I'm not into just doing things just to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into wasted time. I'm very, very focused on my intentions on what I'm doing, because I feel that you can't grow anything without intentions.
Yes.
And so this season, where I'm at right now, I'm very, very intentional. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. So that opens up a lot, right?
Yes.
Another question we got. What's the next one?
how you doing? How you doing?
All right.
Joey from Friends, how you doing?
Oh, I thought it was how you doing from Norbit. How you doing? That
How you doing?
Yeah.
Those are two very different how you doing.
Right, seriously. But that's the next question you got to ask. Like, how are you doing? And not the auto response.
Yeah. Good.
Good.
Fine.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like, how are you doing? Like, how are you physically doing?
Yep.
How are you mentally doing? How are things going at work? How
Yep.
are things going with the kids? Like, how are you doing right now? Where's your state, right? So the
Yes.
difference of where are you at and how are you doing, because I know it can sound almost like the same thing.
Yeah.
Where you at is like overall, where's your mental state? Where's your emotional state? Like, where are you processing right now? How are you doing is like, how do you feel?
Yes.
Like, how are you feeling? How are you right now, like in this moment?
Yeah.
And so how are you doing?
I'm great. My state is great. I have high energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about, today, right now, I'm excited to do this with you, and I'm excited that what we're building and how many people will be impacted. So how am I doing? I'm feeling grateful,
Mm-hmm.
And emotionally, I guess you would say I'm appreciative.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at. I guess you would say how I'm doing. How are you doing?
I am currently excited for sleep. That's how I'm doing, if we're being real. I've had one too many long nights.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because yesterday I was going through the battle of like, oh, I need to get rest. And it's my day of rest because we were up really late the night before.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started watching this series that I was like really into.
Got you into it.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to watch this, like finish seeing like what happens at the end. And so then I was watching that and then just got sidetracked with the kids, etc. And then ended up going to bed kind of late last night too. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm I'm excited for sleep. I don't like to use the word tired anymore because I feel like that is not a word that serves me, but I'm currently excited for sleep. And I'm excited for more rest that I'm going to actually take advantage of the next time I have the opportunity to take advantage of it instead of watching TV. So that's how I'm doing. So how you doing?
Yeah, that's important. And number 3 was our third question we usually ask.
Okay, so what's not working or what's challenging right now?
Now, when we usually ask this question, this could be personally or professionally,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it could be most importantly in your relationship, like what's not working, and we're not going to give that to y'all right now in that aspect, but but that's a question we like to ask because what worked a year ago may not be working today.
Correct.
What worked 6 months ago not be working today, and there might be some things that came across that you're like, oh, I need to talk to you about it, but we just never had an opportunity to even address it because you got a lot of things going on. Maybe you're going to work, maybe you got the kids, maybe you got things again that's taking away, or it's a distraction from having that conversation. So this is your open space to bring that up.
Yes. And it's really important to listen right here when this question, because it's super easy to start getting like defensive or feeling like, well, why do you feel like that? Well,
let me bring up my laundry list on you now, right?
It's like, let them just be authentic and say what's not working, because sometimes we start looking at when people are saying what's not working and we get defensive when really this is the blessing that we were praying for to know, because we can make changes because maybe we didn't even realize that the other person was in that space. So that's a really, really important question that you ask, because sometimes people don't think you care what's working for them, what's not working for them, what their challenges are. And, it's uncomfortable sometimes just to bring stuff up out of the blue sky.
True.
So when you're being asked this question, it opens the floor to have real conversations and stay on the same page.
And it's important of the way you do respond, because if the person is vulnerable to bring it up and they feel they can be direct with you on that, and if you respond in a way that is not receiving to actually want to improve for what they just said that they need help on or that's challenging, then they're never going to feel comfortable bringing it up again.
Yes, that's so true.
They're going to be like, oh, see, why'd you react like that? I knew you were going to react like that. That's why I never bring it up in the first place. And they're never going to talk about it again.
Exactly.
Right? But then it's going to sweep it under the rug, and it's going to, unfortunately, create more problems. So
yeah,
it's very, very important.
It's like that analogy that they talk about where it's like, you know, when your 14-year-old daughter comes and tells you they had their first kiss, like if you freak out, they're never going to tell you anything again about liking a boy, dating a boy, anything. You know, you have to be able to take it and like, okay, so how was that? You know, for them to feel like they could trust you with the next thing. So same thing.
That's so big.
All right. So the next question, what do you need more of right now? What do you need more of?
That's I mean, every man has a number one right there. Boom. I bet you I can tell you. It's pretty easy to answer that one, right?
Down boy.
You know, just saying. All right. No, so what do you need more of? Do you need more, you know, and this is when you really get to understand your partner better, you know, with the love language. Because, again, we talked about this in a previous podcast. You know, what love language you had in the past may not be your language today.
Right.
Because you can evolve, you can change, you can grow, you can improve. And I think we were talking to, you know, one of our staff members. He's like, man, me getting older, my eyes are changing.
Yeah.
Still got the same eyes, but they're just getting older. There's a different way, you know, you're seeing things.
Right.
And so as we get older in our relationship, too, what was important to us in the beginning may not be important to us now.
Right.
And so I think it's really good to ask that question and really figure out, do you need more gifts in this season? Maybe you weren't a gift person, but now you are. You know, do you need affection now? Maybe you were all affection in the beginning, but now you're like, I don't really need as much as I needed, you know? So like, what are you today? You know?
Yes.
So I think that's important to ask that question for sure.
I think so too. And I think it gives both the opportunity to see something that they can implement throughout that week for each other. Because like we always say, you cannot change the other person, but you can change for your other person.
That's good.
So what?
That's a bar, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You might want to say that one more time?
I said you can't change the other person. You can just change for the other person.
I like that. We put that on a T-shirt or a bumper sticker or something.
Right.
I love it.
Yes, as long as we're both changing for each other, that's the most important thing.
Not changing away from each other. That's the key.
Right. So what's the next question?
What's next for you? You know, so when you start thinking about, okay, like, what are you excited about next? What's next for you in your life? It maybe it's professionally, maybe it's, you know, oh, I'm excited. What's next for me? I'm about to go to this new workout. That's cool. You're excited about that. We'll talk about that, right? So, like, what's next in life for you?
Yes.
Like, what do you want to accomplish? You know, and this is where you can, the receiving spouse or the one that's asking the question, they can figure out how they can support or help.
Yes.
You might say what's next for me is reading this book. I know you're reading, what book you're reading right now? You're pretty excited about it?
Raising Trump.
Oh, Raising Trump.
Yeah, I've been reading Raising Trump, which is so crazy because Ivana Trump, she was his ex-wife. But, I mean, her kids are amazing. Like, think whatever you want to think about the Trumps and their family and their craziness.
It's not a political conversation.
Donald Trump and his craziness. But their kids, all of them are strong people. Right. And so I love hearing from her perspective of how she was a working woman while raising her kids and like really being present in both. So that was the perspective that I really like about this book. And the other book that I'm reading right now is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is something I'm reading over and over and over again, as well as, sorry. I'm like, what other book? And another book. And another book.
We eat books around here. You know, that's all we do. Like,
change your perspective, change your life, which is a really good book.
Well, to that point is, you know, a lot of people, this is not a political conversation, but sometimes say, well, I didn't vote for him. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, that has nothing to do with receiving value from raising children or whatever it is. And you can see different perspectives on what you may not want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and so I like always getting both sides, you know, because you want to be able to come to a conversation and have both perspectives, not just one.
Yeah, I just feel like success leaves clues.
I believe in that.
Whether it's, you know, somebody that I agree 100% with or not, if these people have success in a certain area, and to me, I feel like, you know, none of their kids are like on drugs or issues or anything like that. And I just feel like, you know, they're having to be very high functioning people in front of cameras, in front of like whatever the scrutiny of their family or their
I can
parents or
imagine having a
whatever.
camera on your life the
But
whole
all
life.
of them have successful businesses. They're all like grown to be elitist mindset, right? Whether you agree with that or not. But I want my kids to grow up and have that, like, they think they can rule the world and do whatever they want to do
Well, the only
kind
ones
of
that
mindset.
can, the only ones that can, are the ones that believe it.
Yeah,
At the end
and
of the day,
so
you know?
yeah, so I thought that was a really cool book that I'm reading right now.
Well, cool.
But yeah, so that's what's next. What's next for you? You're talking about that kind of stuff. You know, if you're going on a new journey, a fast, a healing, or whatever.
Like I'm on a workout journey.
Yes,
I'm very clear on that, right?
Exactly.
You know, so that's next for me, and you can see it. I'm very excited about it. It fires me up.
Yep.
And now you can support in it, so you kind of feel of how to add value. Like I think you were sending me all these posts on Instagram about powders and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, I was like, okay, like I'm looking at all the ingredients. Do I got this in there? Do I have this in there? And so it's just fun to be on the journey together for what's next, because everybody wants to always talk about what's next and what's new.
Yes.
What's next and what's new.
And the final question, which is largely one of the most important.
Number 6, actually. You have 2 more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, well, go ahead.
You know, there's some technical people going to be watching this and be like, "What? No. They're only at number 5." Number 6 is, what are you excited about?
That's correct. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So, what excites you right now? What are you excited about?
Yeah. What am I excited about right now? I'm excited about this new journey. With us being consistent with our Meet the Eatmons podcast family and our channels and all the things. I'm excited about, speaking in front of a lot of audiences for Women's History Month.
That's fun. You just came back from Napa, right?
Yes,
and just spoken to a couple hundred women, powerful women, all run multi-6-figure, 7-figure businesses and things like that. And you were one of the keynote speakers. So good job, sweetie. Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about, the women that I'm pouring into right now. And, I'm excited about this next chapter for our kids. Just a lot of different things I'm excited about right now. What are you excited about?
I'm excited for what we're doing with Kingsmen. You'll know a little more about that as well, turning men into kings, and because kings run kingdoms, and what's happening with Royal Alliance, and how we're helping couples really run a family unit.
Yes.
And really build that kingdom together, and just what we've been able to do and solve is, there's so much chaos happening right now.
Yeah.
Like, you could turn on the news and there's always something you can look at, but I really believe that when there's chaos, there's much opportunity.
Yes.
Chaos is nothing but a distraction.
Yes.
But the biggest opportunities are always within chaos. So if you solve those problems, your family becomes wealthy. So I'm excited to be able to help more people position their families to hold weight.
Yeah.
Their last name hold real weight.
I like that.
So that's what I'm excited about right now, right?
Yes.
And
clearly I'm excited about the last one. The last question, because I was trying to skip that one.
You're right.
The last question, largely probably one of the most important ones, which is, are you happy? Yeah. Are you happy right now? And you also have to be willing to hear the answer to this one too, because and I think that it's all in how you deliver as well. But are you happy right now? There's been times where you're like, I don't know. I guess, I guess there's things that we could work on, or I guess some people, it's just like, how often do you get asked that? How often does somebody ask you, are you happy right now? To really allow you to sit and register, because it may not even have anything to do with your spouse. Is it like, are you happy in yourself? Are you happy right now? And it's like really taking the time to inventory, am I happy? How do I feel? How are things right now? Which is a really, really important question to ask, because if the answer is no, then you can dig deeper into that. Or if the answer is kind of reserved, or, I guess I'm happy, but I could be happier. There's always room for growth. Those kinds of answers, you can dig a little deeper into that and find things that may need to be patched that maybe your spouse would have never brought up.
No, that's big, because I think it all comes down to the vibration that you're at.
Yeah.
Low vibration, low energy about your relationship. You're probably not going to be happy about the relationship.
Yeah.
But when you think about the relationship, think about when you first started. How happy were you? Butterflies when you saw each other. You're always trying to talk to them all throughout the day. You made a priority at all times, and sometimes that can drift just because of what? Not thinking about it. Just living life and just growing in that. But you can always re-spark it. You can always change your state. And you have to ask yourself again, why am I happy in this relationship? Why am I happy with myself? Why am I happy with just my life? It's in general because you're the architect of it.
Right.
So if you don't like it, you can change it. We say anytime we don't like what's going on, change your energy, change your state.
Yes, 100%.
But I love the way that you asked the question because I think it's important. So, I mean, when we start thinking about it, it's like dating isn't just about just let's spend some time together and spend some money and let's just talk a little bit. It's really just intentionally seeing how we can increase our connection.
Yes,
You know, because there's a time for investment and there's a time for vesting. And investing means ownership. We both have to vest our relationship means we both have ownership of where it's at today.
Yeah.
And we have to consistently keep investing in it so we can get a bigger return for tomorrow.
Yes.
You know?
And you know, I will say this, that statistics show that kids that watch their parents take time for each other and prioritize each other, and kids that watch their parents date each other and have healthy communication are always a lot more secure, well-rounded, happier individuals in their future. So don't be afraid to tell the kids, create boundaries with your kids and say, hey, we're having a date night. You guys got to go to bed. Hey, we're having our time on the couch for 20 minutes. Don't come talk to us. Like, we're having our moment.
Yeah.
Because they will respect that and they will see that and feel secure in watching the security of your love and your relationship. So prioritizing each other, prioritizing date night, that also will help even with raising your kids.
I love that. I love that. So I think this was a very valuable conversation today. And the real question we asked from the beginning is, can one night a week save a relationship? We think yes.
I think so.
Well, we love to hear from you too. We love to hear some comments. You know, maybe you have a different perspective than maybe we have on this as well. And maybe you have some other questions that will also add value to someone that's going to accomplish a date night on a weekly basis or multiple.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear that too. So I'll let you close it out. What you got on our mind?
All right. So as we're wrapping up, I'm so excited that you guys were here with us today. Hopefully you got some insight. Hopefully you got something that you want to share with someone else. But as you're going about your life and you find those things inside of you that are becoming endangered, we ask that you just pull those things out and let the world see it, because it's not just important that you survive, but it's vital.
Sure is.
We're excited for you guys to be with us on the next episode of Meet the Eatmons Endangered Species. We'll see you next time, guys.